Hello everyone, Abby here at Purple Cottage Crafts, and I just have a quick video for you today. These are the four junk journals that I'm going to start working on. These are actual vintage books, and when I do the final flip through of each of these in separate videos, I will have like the date, if I can find it quickly enough, of each of the books. But these are all vintage book covers that I've either purchased from Red Cottage on Etsy, and I will link her below since I'm mentioning her, or ones that I have purchased from a local thrift shop of mine. So as per usual with most, so actually with all of my videos where I'm starting a project, I usually have just a pile of goodness on my table. I share with you what the project theme is, what the inspiration piece is, the different components, the laces, trims, inks, sprays, embellishments, papers, all of that kind of stuff. Well, since I'm still set up temporarily in the main part of the living space of our home, I am just going to kind of do this like a smaller version of that. So what I'm going to be sharing with you are the four covers that I'm going to be using, as well as just a couple pieces of the different laces and trims and fabrics that I'm going to be using kind of like as the jumping off point, so to speak, that I kind of felt really jived with these books. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to maybe use a little bit from this pile onto this book. They can be very much interchangeable, but these are kind of the initial gut feelings I have. If you hear something in the background, I am baking some paper, so it's kind of popping back there with the fan on it and stuff. So sorry about that if you hear that. All right, so let's start with this first one here. So this is Miss Minerva and William Green Hill. Now, some of these I purchased just as covers, and some that I have carefully gutted so I could reuse the vintage cover and then use the book pages in several different projects. And I think this is just a beautiful cover. It's all old and tattered, and I love it. All of mine are carefully wiped down, so if there's any dirt from sitting in a garage or dusty, that kind of stuff, it's all been very carefully wiped away without damaging the cover as much as possible. So there are some blemishes because they are vintage books, but they're just gorgeous. So a couple of the first initial bits of laces and trims that I pulled for this one, let me kind of hold them up together so you can kind of see here. I just love how this looks, and the reason I chose the polka dot, this sheer trim, and this isn't vintage, this is, so there's going to be some new and there's going to be some actual true vintage components as well, as per usual with all of my projects. So I chose this really pretty kind of like a Swiss dot kind of a design, I guess you could say, and these are like just overstitched little dots, like little embroidered type of dots. I just love it because if you look on the cover on Miss Minerva, I think that's how you say her name, she has little dots on her jacket that she has on. Her dots, of course, are red as they match the cover, but the polka dots, they combine. So I thought that went well with together. And then I also liked the deep kind of rich tones of this vintage crocheted doily piece. It's just absolutely gorgeous, and I liked how that looked, how it kind of went along with darkness on the cover, even though there's not going to be more images of her in here unless I can find some within the book that I took out. I still like how this looks with it. I think it just has a really nice tone to it, and I just kind of pictured that she would have this maybe perhaps like on an armchair in her living room or something like that, her sitting room. So these are the two inspiration pieces for this particular junk journal. And I'll go over the themes of them once I do the final flip through, because there's a couple I'm still kind of evolving on how I want the theme to be, except for the ones that kind of stand out, like this one here, which is named The Rose Book. This is a gorgeous book cover. I love this. It's so beautiful. I think this is one of the ones that I got from my local secondhand shop, I think. It's just gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful. And look at that beautiful spine. So of course this one's going to be about roses and floral, a little bit of botanical, that kind of a thing. Not necessarily, maybe like a little spin-off of like a secret garden type of a vibe. I have two separate tomes actually I've been preparing for way before we even moved back to Oregon from Florida last summer. So I've had some things prepped for a little over a year for those two tomes when I can get to them. But for now, I'm going to kind of play with some of that idea from those books onto this junk journal here from this vintage book cover. And so somebody had inscribed in the inside cover 1929, and then there is this lovely little stamp down there. So I haven't decided if I want to cover these elements yet, because I think that it just kind of adds to the character. I'm kind of planning out maybe doing a little bit of collaging around it, adding some more fabric elements, maybe some different botanical features, something like that, because I really like to try to have this show, because I think it's all part of the character of the vintage book. So, and there's the cover for that one. So what I was thinking for this one is, I love this little doily bit here. I think it's super pretty. This is vintage. I just love the way it looks. It just, all of the swirls in here kind of look like the florals down here in the bottom. The same thing with this here. Now this is not a vintage piece. This is actually from a blouse that I thrifted and cut apart, but it has a floral motif on it, and I think that is really pretty. Let me get right side up here so we can see it better. I just think that's just really super pretty, and I thought that also kind of went with the lovely design on the spine. So I think these two pieces work really well together, and like I said, this looks great with it too. So they'll, you know, there's going to be some cross, you know, linen usage, I guess you could say, for these books, these junk journals. So let me get this put back together over here. All right, and the next one, this is called Family Pride. This is another absolutely gorgeous cover. Look at the spine. It's got a beautiful floral, and it's got that nice design, and it has Albert Company, New York on the bottom. I think that's beautiful. And then this has the, it's in Boston there with the author of the novel. And then there is the cover. So I think originally this was like white, because there's like little bits of it left. But again, it's a vintage book, so that's all part of the charm. That's the inside and the back. And I just think that is a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous illustration right there. So I think that's just beautiful. So this seemed very not necessarily bridal, but very like romantic, kind of like Pride and Prejudice type of a vibe to me anyway. So this is off of a blouse that I also thrifted. It looks old, but it's not, and I think it's just gorgeous. I'm so glad that I found that blouse. I'm going to be using it sparingly, but I think it's just beautiful, and I just think that kind of goes with that kind of wispy, kind of soft look of what she's wearing. Like along the side here on the edges, they're a little bit of ruffly, and just this gorgeous detail that I can just imagine in these details right here on her little coverlet. And then this is some trim from Hobby Lobby. So like I said, it's a mix of old and new. This gorgeous lace trim here, that is from Hobby Lobby. I thought that was beautiful. And again, I just think it adds to, and it kind of alludes to that soft, kind of flowy vibe coming from her, you know, her bonnet caplet she has on, and then just her little overlay, and just how gorgeous that is. So I thought these two would work really well together to kind of evoke that feeling of very soft feminine fabrics. So that's why I kind of pulled those two. And then last but not least, this one is called Aunt Diane, and it's kind of hard to read the author on the back there. I tried to clean this off as carefully as I could. This light area was already there. This was just a piece of tape. It was like duct tape. So this part I can't get to go away, but again, it just adds to the character of the book. I think when you're purchasing something that's vintage, that just adds to it. You can see the beautiful spine, and then on the cover there, and then there was a little bit more duct tape right here, and I got off as much as I could. I started to go down through the linen, and so I stopped, because I don't want to destroy the book. But the light colors and stuff, that, like I said, that was already there. I think somebody prior to me purchasing this tried to do the same thing. So, but again, it's just all part of the character. And there's the inside spine. It's just gorgeous and yummy, these dark pages. I love it. So for this one, I just kind of imagined that perhaps the bottom of her skirt, and I'll hold it up close so you can see it again. This is actually off, I thrifted this. This is a bed skirt for a queen size bed, so I have quite a bit of this. And I just cut off the part that goes over the mattress, because I don't want that part. And this is just the actual bed skirt that lays down. And I thought this was just so pretty. And I just kind of pictured perhaps the, you know, the material on her skirt could be reminiscent of that, the kind of the movement. I thought that was just really pretty. So I just, you know, in my crazy brain. And then on the color of her jacket here, the caplet, perhaps that she has a little bit of some lace work or some doily. This is a doily, but this is not like super, super old, but it's still very pretty and very, very lovely. Just gorgeous handwork on this. And I just kind of thought that these two together just kind of evoked that look. It's hard for me to articulate kind of on this one, but I just love the two tones together and the way it kind of plays off the dark green of this, kind of like, you know, with the trees in the background, kind of the deeper tones. And I just was just kind of having a little bit of creative play on possibly what the elements of her dress and her collar could possibly be made from, or as an alternative form. So I hope that makes sense. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to maybe share a little bit of my creative process in just a different format than what I normally do, because I always do include that part in my crafting. I have from day one, even when I was just doing strictly blogging before I had a YouTube channel. My blogs would start off that way as well. So this is just another form of that, since I'm not able to, you know, have all of those components out right now on my table that I typically do, and I'm working on just one. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to share with you, you know, just a little bit of my creative process on this, as well as let you know of some upcoming junk journals that will be up on my channel for sale. So these take a while for me to do. As you, most of you know, have been following me, I do live with chronic pain, so I can't craft every day. I am limited as to how much I can do, as well as just, you know, normal life stuff. Still trying to work on getting my room together. We're getting closer. I know I keep saying that, but I promise you we are. And just normal life stuff, you know, we're doing remodel the house and all that kind of jazz. So I'm trying to work on these as I can in between other projects that I have going as well. So I will be listing these individually in their own separate flip through videos. Each one's going to be a different price point. Due to a variety of different reasons, you know, how much I embellish, and if this book cover is older than that book cover, or, you know, if I'm using, like, you know, really rare and vintage laces and tattings and things like that. So if you are interested in, if your interest is piqued into any one of these 4 journals or more, from what I've shared so far, and you would be interested, if you want to pre-purchase one, you certainly can. Just send me an email to purplecottagecrafts@gmail.com. That way we can privately discuss the details, and then that also is going to give you a little bit of some input into the creative process as well, because I can incorporate some colors that you like, or maybe some different types of papers. Maybe you like book pages. Maybe you're really into you know, Shakespearean plays or quotes, or you really like excuse me, botanical things, or maybe more doilies, that type of element that you can really kind of give me some information, and then I can add my creative twist and incorporate your ideas too. So that's another reason I wanted to do the video, just in case you wanted to maybe do that. And if you don't, that's completely fine too. No pressure, obviously. Just wanted to throw that out there. So otherwise, you will see these completed journals in the future, one at a time, in their own separate video. And I will more than likely do some different tutorials on different components. Sorry, my laptop was turned up. Some different components from each of the different embellishments I'm going to be creating for the journal. I will have some quick tips with Abby videos from this as well. So I just wanted to let you know, and I will see you all next time. So happy scrapping, happy planning, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.